There you go. Audio check, audio check. There you go. Audio check, audio. Okay. It's a few seconds. What's going on there, everyone? I'm Devin with TrueDevinGaming. And today, once again, we're not actually going to be focused on gaming. Instead, we're going to be learning something. We're going to be using Mimo again. Last time, we used Mimo, which is this app used for learning different styles or different career paths of programming. Like, if you want to get into IT, this is very useful for learning it. I know at the end of completing one of these, let me. Okay, where is it? There's a bunch of different courses here of what you can learn. And then once you're finished with them, it gives you a certificate to show that you have completed it. A lot of people then go ahead and use those certificates for, what do you want to call it? Put them on their resumes so that they can use it as proof to apply for jobs. That is one of the things I'm going to be doing. But with that, well, excluding that, certain certificates are more useful for resumes, while certain certificates are basically completely useless for resumes. I do not know which one Mimo is when it comes to their certificate, if they matter at all, or if they are very important, or very useful. With that being said, if you're trying to learn how to if you're trying to learn the information, but the certificate is useless, that's one option. But then there's also the option of it's a one that is very... Okay, let me rephrase that. There's two styles of this. A very useful certificate, but the way to learn it is extremely difficult. And then there is kind of useless certificate, but learning it is easy. My thought process on it is if you find a program that lets you learn it, that is more important than getting a certificate that's very very useful. You should do the one that is easy to learn first, and then use that information you gain from that to actually then challenge the difficult to get certificate that is actually useful. Okay, I need to close my door. There we go. Just had to close my door. Yeah. So with that all being said, I'm currently doing the full stack developer career path that they have set up here. The certificate at the end. There's 20 sections. I'm currently on section 1, and last time we worked our way through half of number 12 here. My goal today is finish section 1, so we're going to be going to redo 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We're going to do all that. At least that's the plan. Yep. So let's start off with 12. CSS Basics 1. Which property does the italic value belong to? Let's see, font weight is bold, font style, and font family. Font family is things like Arial, Helvetica, New Times Roman, things like that. So it's font style. How do we change the size of text on a web page? Font size, that's kind of obvious. What is a CSS rule? The style tags, the selector, and the declarations we want to add, the CSS property value pair, a selector, and its declarations. This is actually the answer. That seemed kind of convincing. The style tags aren't actually in the rules. So. Select the element with the class news alert. A class that you use for a selector. A class selector starts with a period, then the name. Which selector do we use to select all H1 elements on a given web page? Well, if you want all the elements of a single type of tag, you use a tag selector. Which selector selects only the L1 list item element on this web page? Only the second L1 element. Second L1 is right here. Its ID is up next, so we need to use an ID selector. ID selectors have the pound or hashtag symbol at the beginning. So it's hashtag up next. What's wrong with this code? I'm not going to look at these first. I'm going to actually just look at this. Starts off with opening up with HTML doc type. HTML open and close, good. Head open and close, good. Body open and close, good. Then inside head we have link, href. When you link to something, you want to also have the REL, the relationship specified. In this case, you would have relationship equals style sheet, and then href. So the relationship attribute is missing. What happens to a web page if we don't include a link to a particular CSS file? Well, first off, we do not get an error. That doesn't matter. Basically, everything that's in the CSS file just isn't connected. Does styles in the file are partially applied? No, it's not connected, so it's 2. Styles in the file won't apply to the web page because it's not connected. To add a border around an element, which value is necessary? Solid. I feel like there should be others besides solid, like a dashed border, a dotted border, things like that. But currently it just says solid is the only answer. Which shape does the CSS rule in style.css give to images? Let's see, 100 pixels wide, 100 pixels tall, so it's currently a square. Border radius of 20 pixels, so it's a square with rounded corners. Set the border radius properly to 10 pixels. There we go. Set the height property to make all elements of the square class square shaped. Well, that means height must equal width, so 150. Why are elements of the wider width class wider than elements of the shorter width class? I'm guessing because you gave them a wider width. They have the class names here. Shorter width has a width of 150, wider width has 250. So because shorter width has a bigger, because wider width has a bigger width property. Yeah. That's kind of self-explanatory. Okay, that's the start of number 12. Now we have the supercharges. Last time, we did the first 2 supercharges for 12, and I noticed something that was an issue with them. The last question of the supercharged practices should have been the first question, because these first 2 supercharges were introducing new concepts that were not introduced yet, but the last question of each one of these practices basically was the introduction. They were just out of order. So that's why we were having issue with these 2 last time. Styling with CSS and using style tags. This one is just strictly coding. Create an H1 element. Okay. We'll see text color set to red. So what we need to do here is make a style equal in quotates, and then you need to put a value in here. So this would be the property that we're changing. Actually, here is the property. So to break this down, let me actually put this in. LEG. Oh, there we go. This is correct. So break it down. We have a tag, which is H1, opening tag and closing tag. Inside of it, we have here the style element. Rather, this is an attribute. But this entire thing here is an attribute to the H1 element. Style itself is an element itself, but this entire thing combined is an attribute added to the H1 element. Everything inside these quotes is counted as a value of this attribute. But inside this value is, right here, color, which is a property. The property has its value here, so we have a second value. We have value inside of value. And then we have the text. A lot of stuff to break down for the introduction of it. Create a paragraph. Element with the font style, so we need to open up the style again. Set to italic. Font style italic. Close. That displays the text there to be different. There we go. In the first paragraph, set the font size to 30 pixels and the font weight to bold. Last time, had an issue with this because I picked the wrong paragraph. I did not even see the actual first paragraph. We want font. Here, no space before it. Font size, colon, 30 pixels, semicolon, and now we need font weight. Colon, bold, semicolon. Now we could do the same exact thing to, let's just go with paragraph 3 as well. We can upgrade the size to 30. And then to make this bold, we do strong. This is another way of doing this. This should not make us fail this assignment, but I just want to show paragraph 1 and paragraph C is going to look exactly the same when it comes to size now. Yep. So there's multiple ways to do styling. Set the font family of H3 to Arial. Oh, they started up. See, that's one of the reasons why I'm like, this thing is in backwards. This should have been done before the last few questions. Because it introduces the actual style equals framework. They should be in the middle. They're right on that. But it should have been the first 3, should be the last 3 instead. Font family, colon, space, Arial, semicolon. See, this one is even more in-depth than the last one. It actually tells you every single part of it. For the H1 element, add the style attribute. All attributes go like this. And set the font family to Papyrus. Again, definitely should have been done before the others. Hello, Spike. How are you doing today? Or at least I think that's Spike. It's either Spike or S1P3K. That you switch the letters around. That's Sipek? Sipek or Spike? I don't know. I'm just going with Spike. Tell me if I'm wrong. For the H2 element, add the style attribute and set color to pink. The H2 element here, add the style attribute and set the color to pink. Say yeah, Sipek. So it's Sipek. Okay, so it's not Spike, it's Sipek. I'll be honest, you have your username set in a way that feels purposely hard to read. Was it Leech Speak? What's it? I believe that's what it's called. Alright, here is the one that I'm like, this should have been the very first one. This should have been the first question. In the H1 tag, add a style attribute that has the value color is plum between quotes. This tells you literally how to do all the stuff. This should have been the introduction, not the first question, which literally is like, hey, do this without us telling you how. So this entire section, I feel like the questions were in the wrong order. And no ditches. There you go. That was starting with CSS. Now we're going to be doing using style tags. Add an H1 rule that sets color to white. We have H1 here. So we can do what we've just been doing this entire time. And this should work, but it won't. This is actually incorrect. Because this now is trying to teach us to use the style section here, the style element. Because if I run this, it goes wrong. Never mind. I know the answer was supposed to be this, by the way. This is what they wanted. This is what was supposed to happen. This is what they wanted us to do here. Okay, so there's just, in general, there's just multiple ways to do it. Create a body rule. So if we followed how we were doing with all these, we'd be adding information into body here. Instead, it's going to be here. Body, font dash style, on italic. Let's see, create a rule for the body element. So again, body, open, close, saying curly brackets. We set the font dash weight to bold. Okay, let's just keep running through this fast. Make a paragraph rule. It sends font style to italic. Good. Add a paragraph rule that sets background color to orange color to white, and font size to 16 pixels. What did I do wrong? Oh yeah, I put a space. There's no space in between the numbers and the pixels. That's why I messed up there. Create a style and style closing tag. See, this should have been done earlier in this. We've been using the style tags. We should have introduced it before that. I don't know why they have these set up like this. Add a paragraph rule that sets font dash weight to bold. Last one, paragraph rule sets background dash color to orange and color to white. Yeah, so somewhere in the middle of that section was what should have been the first question. Now, style sheet and basic selectors. We have 3 different types of selectors so far, from what I remember. We have the element selectors, which are used for selecting all types of a single element. Think an H1 selector selects all heading ones, or a paragraph selector that applies rules to all paragraphs. Then we have a class selector that uses the assigned class that we give to a bunch of different elements and tags. Whether or not they're the same type of element or tag does not matter. And for that, it's going to be using the name dot and then class name. And then lastly, we have the ID selectors, which are unique, as in they use the ID that you've given the element, but a ID can only be used for a single instance of a single element. So it should only be applied once. And those ID selectors start off with a hashtag or a pound symbol, and then the ID. Let's do. So create a rule that selects all H1 elements and change their color property to blue. So we use the element selector, color to blue. There we go. Next one, create a rule that selects elements in the class done and sets their color property to green. Okay, so it's a class selector, so it starts with period. Class is done. So open up and closing curly brackets. Then the property of changing color to the value of green. There we go. Create a rule that selects all P elements. So the element selector for P. It changes the font style property to italic. Create a rule that styles the element with ID text and change its color property to light blue. So we're doing an ID selector, so there we go. And then the ID is text. And we want to set color to light blue. Create a body rule. Body is an element, so we're using element selected here, which sets font family to Helvetica, color to coral, and then background color to not a capital. I really was just typing incorrectly there. Tone soap. And now create one CSS rule to make all text and headings in the web page bold. All text and headings within the web page means it's going to be using a body element. And then we want to make all text and headings web page bold. Bold is going to be font weight, if I remember correctly. There we go. Now, one more supercharged practice for section number 12, setting size and borders. So, make a border around the winners visible by typing the missing keyword. Missing keyword is solid. Set the images height to 100 pixels and width to 150. Okay. So height 100 px close. Width 150 px close. And round its edges using the border radius property. Border radius. Doesn't tell me how much rounding we want to do, so I'm just going to go 20 pixels. That's not too much. Yep. Display images in the shape of a circle by setting the border radius to half of the width. Just making sure there is only one image here. So the one image has this class, so we can use this class. There we go. Now we can go as this. The other option is if we're taking it literally, like if there's multiple images, be doing this instead. And it would base it off of the width up above. So it would go this instead. But since it's only one image, this is unnecessary. Set a visible 10 pixel wide border around the H1 element. H1 is here. Border is solid 10 pixel. Set the flower class, which is this class here, to be 300 pixels wide. So we need width is 300 pixels. At the width of the paragraph, okay, So that's this one. To 300 pixels. Encode a visible 3 pixel wide aquamarine border. We need border is solid 3 pixel aquamarine. There we go. I do like the color combination here. That's very good. Light cyan and aquamarine go well together. Round the corners of profile picture by coding the missing property. Missing property is border radius. Hello, Gwenchana. How are you doing today? It said early. Yeah. I know I'm responding like 4 minutes late. It's because I am focusing on this. Sorry about that. Early stream. Learning CSS. Yeah. HTML and CSS are the current things I'm focusing on in this right now. That is the end of 12, CSS Basics 1. Now on to building with the box model. I only did this literally 2 hours ago is when I did this first. So all these 14 through 17 I haven't done yet at all. 12 I did yesterday, 13 I've done earlier today. Box model and padding. Elements on a web page are rectangular boxes with 4 layers. The content, the padding, the borders, and margins. So margins are, actually I'll start with the middle. There's the center, or the content. It's the text, it's the pictures, it's that stuff. It's the basic stuff, it's what you see. Then around that is the border. It's the general shape of the content. In between the content and the border is padding. It's just empty space. And then in between the border and the next set of content or the actual web page is the margins. Those are different sections. Padding generates space between the content and the border of an element. I went over that. Look, to change the padding on all 4 sides of an element, we use padding property. And then if we want to do it on just the top, the left, the right, the bottom, it would be padding dash top, padding dash left, padding dash right, padding dash bottom. So this gave us 50 pixels distance between the content in the middle and the border here. Now we have padding left, already went over that. We have padding right. Padding top. And padding bottom. To change alignment of the content, we use the text align property. Everyone has seen this plenty of times in Word. We have center, left, and right. Of course, what I just did there probably does not really fit. So for me, center is here, left is here, right is there. But this on the screen for you, this side is left and that side is right. Camera is flipped. Of course, everyone has seen that before. Okay, let's set it to center. What are paddings? Space between the content and the border of an element. Yep. What's the padding left property? Add space on the left side of an element. Yep. Which of these changes the padding at the top of an element? Well, padding top. Some of these questions are just way too blatantly obvious. What's the text align property for? Changes the padding at the top? Nope, it changes alignment of the content of an element. Yes. Set the padding property to 30 pixels. Would have been quicker to just press the buttons, but I felt like typing it out just to make sure I get the muscle memory sort of thing of it. Change the padding on the left side of all H1 elements. And the amount it shows at the bottom is 50 pixels, so we'll be doing that. Padding dash on the left side, so left. 50 pixels. Change the padding at the top of the H1 element by typing padding top. Align the content to the center. So, superchargers is where we actually have the somewhat more difficult part of practice, because we actually have to type things out. When it comes to these basic ones, the learn sections, they are all about just getting the information out. Now onto margins. Margins generate space around an element outside of any paddings or borders. So it's around the element. It's not just the distance from the element to the edge of the page, which is what people are used to in Word documents. Also, the difference between this element and the next element close to it. And use a margin. Of course, there's going to be margin top, left, right, and bottom as well. Here we have margin top. Here we have margin bottom. Distance here. Change the margin on the left side of an element. We use the margin left. And next one's going to be margin right. Yep. Although they both add space around them, margins and paddings are different. The padding adds space between the content and the border, while the margin adds space between the border and other elements. Which properties does this image element have? Well, there's padding here between the element, or the image, and the border. There's a border, obviously, and then there's space between the border and the outside. So at least a padding, a border, and a margin. This image could also have a width and a height, but that also could just be the natural size for the image. What are margins? The space between the content and the border of an element? Nope, that's a padding. The space around an element outside of any paddings or borders. That's the margin. Which of these changes the margins on all four sides of an element? That's just base margin. What's the difference between paddings and margins? Paddings are inside, margins are outside. Set the margin to 50 pixels. Set the margin on the right side of an image element. Set the margin at the bottom of all elements on the post class by typing margin bottom. Hope I don't need that extra semicolon because there's one there already. Set the margins on all four sides of an image element by typing margin is 5 pixels. There you go. That's everything I've covered so far, so everything now is supposed to be new stuff. Adding padding with one line. I mean, we've been doing that. Now, the question is this going to be... Now that we've done adding padding on the style sheet, the style sheet.css that we've been using, now we're going to be adding it directly into the elements tag. I'm assuming it's going to be like, okay, h1 style equals quotates and then adding padding there. I'm guessing that's what we're going to be doing here. Any element has 4 paddings contained clockwise from top to right to bottom to left. That is... Why? Why are they counted in order? So far we've learned to set the paddings for each side of the element one at a time. 20, 20, 20, 20, yeah. Setting them all set. And can't you just set it with just base padding? We can't set each padding value in one line using... We can. Okay, we can set each padding value in one line using the padding property, the pixel value for each side. So just padding, 20 pixel, 20 pixel, 20 pixel, 20 pixel. Is this going to work the same way for margins as well? If we just put margin, then we put 4. Let me test that out because I have on a different page, just not visible to you. I have that available. Let me see. I currently have it. Body has margins at 20. There's H1. Let me give it padding. No, I'll do it. Test this with margin first. It's H1. I want to give it margin. Let's see, top of 20 pixels. That is right 50 pixels. Bottom, I'll go 20 pixels again. Actually, no. Let's go 50 pixels again. And then left side, 100 pixels. Let's see if that saved, if margins work the same way as padding here. Yes, margins work the exact same way as padding does that they're saying right now. Good to know. I wanted to test that out myself before this tells me it. Position the content lower inside of an element at a top padding by selecting the first value to 100 pixels. I'll be honest, is there any reason to ever use padding top, left, right, and bottom anymore if you can just do it this way? Probably to make it more obvious. Set the right padding to something like 40 pixels. We change the second value. To set the left padding to 100 pixels, we change the fourth value. To add padding to the bottom, we set third value. When we don't want to add padding to one side, we can add 0 and leave px since it's optional. So 0 px would also work, right? It won't let me check it. Great. So 0 and 0 px, I believe both will work there. How do we set values for the padding shorthand? Clockwise from top to right to bottom to left. Yes. Which value sets the top padding in this code? Top is 20. Which paddings are greater than 0? Top, right, and left. Okay, so it's right and left. What does the third value of padding do? 1, top, right, bottom. Sets the bottom padding. What happens when we set a padding to 0 with the shorthand and leave out px? It's okay. Pixels is option when the value is set to 0. Add the property used to set the padding for the H3 element. That's just the word padding. Add the first value to set the top padding to 50. Set the right and left paddings to 75 pixels. So top, left, no, that's right, that's right. Top, right, bottom, left. Code the third value to set the bottom padding to 300 pixels. Set the top padding to 25 pixels, the right padding to 50 pixels, the bottom padding to 25 pixels, and left padding to 0 pixels. At least they're in the right order. So we go top, right, bottom, left. Okay, so I just have to remember that's in clockwise. And so that works for padding, that works for margins, and now something about corners. So far, all we've done with corners has been border radius. That's the only thing. I could honestly see them saying, oh, we want different border radius for each one. It would look like shit. In all honesty, it would look completely like shit having different border radiuses for each corner. But I could definitely see that. Never mind. This is actually the one way to make it look good. I'd say having them all four match looks good. But having like this where only 2 count, yeah, that does look good now. I'm just saying how they look shit and they show the one design that looks good. Shorthands work with the margin and border radius properties, making it possible to create interesting styles with few lines of code. Okay, starting off with margin. Set the right and left margins to 15 pixels in one line. To add top and bottom ones, we set first and third values to 40 pixels. I'm honestly wondering which corner are we going to start with for border radius. I'm assuming because we're doing clockwise, it's going to be the top right. Assuming that one. I could be wrong though. The border radius property with 4 values round the corners in a clockwise direction starting from the top left. I was wrong. Border radius starts with the top left. Starts up here. I mean, I guess that makes sense. So it's not exactly clockwise. It is still going in clockwise order, but doesn't start at the same spot. You can round just the top left corner by changing the first value to 50. And leave the rest to 0. Yeah, this one doesn't actually look good. The shape isn't horrible, but it's not that good. To take border radius to the extreme, we can set a corner to the same value as the height or width. Like 100 pixels in this case. Okay, I'm actually interested in what this would look like. Okay. I should have just expected that. That means if you put the second value to 100 pixels, it would literally just be this weird crescent. You can use border radius to give the images a unique touch by doing things like rounding the top right and bottom left corners to 20 pixels. Yeah, these shapes actually look good. What is the order of values for the margin shorthand? Top, right, bottom, left. What's wrong with this code? There's not 5 margins. What is the order of values for the border radius property? Top left, top right, bottom left. What happens when we set border radius to these values? So we're going to have border radius of the top right corner be 20. So the image will have a rounded top right corner. Just notice that the only difference between these is whether or not we're using a button or image. So it would be this is what they're questioning us on. What happens when we set the border radius to these values? 0, 0, 100, 0. 0 in top left, top right, bottom right. So it's going to be the bottom right circle. Paragraph element has a rounded bottom right corner. Yeah. Hey, show me what that looks like. Come on. What's wrong with this code? Why are there so many semicolons? Set the top margin to 20 pixels, the right margin to 20 pixels, and the rest to 0. We start off with 20. Then we want the right, which is also 20. And then the rest is to 0. Set the top margin to 20 pixels. Okay. Left margin 20 pixels. Okay, just fill in the blanks. Set border radius for the top right and bottom right corners to the same value as the height property. So height property is 150. Yeah, that doesn't look good either. The image needs to be stretched longer for it to work. Set the top right corner and the bottom left corner to 100 pixels. The other corners to 0. The top right is going to be the second one. And then the bottom left will be the last one. So here we go. No. So me clicking in here and then pressing the button does not work. Set the top left corner to 100 pixels. Okay. And the bottom right corner to 100 pixels. Set border radius to 0. Okay. For the top left corner, fix the pixels for the other corners. Top left is the second. So we need 50px space 0, 50px space 50px. Set the border radius to 0 for the top left. Okay, top left is this side. I keep on... This is... Top left is this side. I'm messing up my left and rights with this. It's fucking confusing to keep track of 4 corners. God damn it. Interesting shape. I would probably adjust the height of it to 100 to stretch it out a bit longer. Okay. So that one fucking messed with my mind a bit there. Now we have CSS Basics 2, which should be testing us on all the things we just went over. The box model, the padding, corners, margins, all that stuff. What are margins? The space outside of an element's border which define how far it is from another element. Yes. Distance between a text and an element and the text of another element. No, because that's excluding the possibility of padding. This is like margin and padding combined. And the border. The distance between the element's contents and its border. That's padding. What are paddings? Space around an element outside of any border. That's margins. The border of an element. No, that's the border. Space between the content and the border of an element. There we go. What's the padding top property for? Yeah, it's space at the top and bottom of an element's content. Not bottom and top. That's wrong. At space at the bottom. No, at space at the top. There we go. Set both left and right margins to 90 pixels. Set the length, or set the side margins to 50 pixels, the top margin to 30 pixels, and the bottom margin to 20 pixels. So that's 30, 50, 20, 50. Fuck you. We've just gone on over everything in order, and they put these in the wrong fucking order. We've just been going over its margin in order. It goes top, right, bottom, left. They put these in the wrong order just to fuck with us. So top will be 50. No, wait. Sides will be 50. 50 first. 50 second. Top will be 30. Bottom will be 20. That one irritated me. They set that one up purposely to fuck with us. How do we set the values for the padding shorthand? Clockwise. Set the top and bottom paddings to 20 pixels, the left and right paddings to 30. So top 20, right 30, bottom 20, left 30. Ah, this is irritating. What's the value for the top padding of the paragraph element? That is here. That is 20. You know those games where people are like, okay, they point in a direction and someone has to look in a different direction. They cannot look in the same direction that the other person's pointing. It feels like I'm playing that game right now. It really feels like it. What happens when we set a margin to 0 with a shorthand and leave out pixels? Nothing. Set the left and right paddings to 60. We start off with padding. Top, right, bottom, left. What's the last value when using the margin shorthand? The left. Set the top margin to 20 pixels and left margin to 20 pixels. First off, margin 2020. What's the last value when using the border radius shorthand? Starts off with top left, ends with bottom left. What's the order values for the margin shorthand? Top right, bottom left. Set the bottom right corner to 150 pixels and the rest to 0. Starting off with top left, top right, bottom right, bottom left. Please be correct. This is... How did they make left, rights, tops, and bottoms fucking stressful? Before we just go into 17, we're doing the superchargers, the actual practice. Using a class selector, set the first paragraph's margins so that it's 100 pixels away from the left and right edges on the web page. First thing first, we need to find out what is the first paragraph's class selector. Paragraph 1, class selector is gold. So we're working inside of here. Using a class selector to set the first paragraph's margins. Margin, so that's 100 pixels away from the left and right edges of the web page. So it's the sides. So 0, 100, 0, 100. Close. Okay, good. Move the text to the bottom of the paragraph by setting padding top to 60 pixels. Just making sure I can actually use this. I was questioning why would anyone use the top, bottom, left and right paddings, margins, things like that. And then I went to just using just plain padding, just plain margin, just plain border radius. And yeah, I can really see why now. Because this feels... It's easier to be able to just read it. Add 10 pixels of space between the content and the border of all image elements. So that's padding. Ten pixels. That's it. I forgot to close it, so that's... There we go. Set the images 5 pixels away from their border and 10 pixels away from other elements. So padding and margins. So first one is padding, which is 5 pixels away from their border. 5px close. Margin is 10 pixels. Set the border radius property to 10 pixels for all image elements. That one is a simple one. Add 5 pixels of space between the content and the border, then add 30 pixels of space around all image elements. Padding of 5 pixels. And then $30 pixels for margin. Hello, Chico Plays. Say JavaScript, what's better for backend? I don't know yet. Probably Java. I know. Actually, wait. Let me think about it. Java is just a plain old programming language for everything. While JavaScript is what connects HTML. It's what you write scripts in. So it's what gives function to web pages, from what I remember. I still want to say Java, just because I like Java better. I don't know the actual correct answer though. I'm not that far into this. I'm still very early into this. I'm an intro to web development, so it's gonna be a while. Inside the H3 selector, the headings 3 selector, add the property value used to create paddings. That's just padding, okay? And set the top padding to 20 pixels. And the rest is 0. There we go. Set the top padding of the heading element to 100 pixels. Oh, there I saw it. The rest is 0. I don't like how these are literally one space off. Just press the tab instead. Set the left padding to 0. Left padding is the last one. Set the missing bottom padding to 100. Top, right, middle, bottom, left. God. My brain. Just thinking of top, left, right. This is all hurting my brain too much. Update the giving paddings to ensure the top and bottom paddings are 25 pixels each. Okay. The right padding is 40. And the left padding is 0. Set the top padding to 200 pixels. First things first, getting that lined up correctly. Top padding, 200 pixels. And the rest to 0. Okay, we did that one well. One more supercharged practice and we'll be on to the last part of section 1. Set the border radius to 100 pixels of the image. I have to say it's of the image, not of the body. Let's go. Border radius. It's 100 pixels for top left, which is the first one. And bottom left, which is the last one. And then in between the other two, we want 20. 20. Set border radius for the top right and bottom right corners of the image to the same value as the height property and the other corners to 0. These are getting so fucking complex. I'm trying to just understand it. Boreas. Boreas. No. Border radius. You need to have a dash in between. Top right and bottom right corners. They have the same value as height. So 150 px, 150 px. And then we want, that's the two right sides, so the left sides are 0 and 0. I'm honestly interested in seeing what this would look like because these have I misspelled border. There we go. Okay. So shape goes all the way. My age? Nope. Add border radius and set the top left corner and bottom right corner of the image to 100 pixels. Rest to 0. Let's see. Of the image. Okay, so we're doing image again. Border dash radius. The top left, that is the first corner. Bottom right, which is the third corner. Those go 100 pixel. 100 pixel 0 close. There we go. Honestly, this is an interesting shape. I like it. Set the margin properties, or add the margin property and set the top and left value of the button to 20 pixel. Top and left, that is the first and last. 20, 0, 0, 20. Close. Add the property used to round corners. Border radius. Set the border radius for the top right and bottom right corners of the image to the same value as height and width. Set the other corners to 0. Border radius starts with top left. Zero, 150, 150, 0. Good. Set the bottom and left margins of the button to 35 pixels and the rest to 0. Bottom and left. So we start off as top, which is 0. Right, which is 0. Bottom, which is 35 pixels. And then left, which is 35 pixels. What I'm doing? Honestly, I just needed to get myself back into programming. Spent the last year not doing any programming whatsoever, and since I'm trying to finally get myself into a IT or tech related job again, I need a refresher, and I needed to actually learn. This was probably my worst section, by the way, of everything, language or coding, language programming, everything that wise. The thing that had the most difficulty was CSS. And that's because when I took Intro to Web Applications Development, the course that the professor, or the single day that the professor actually introduced it, was one day that I missed. And then in all of his PowerPoints, it never showed how to do what was any CSS. Never showed anything in his PowerPoint, and he never went back to it. And I just couldn't fucking figure it out. Yeah. Currently doing this with the goal of actually just learn how to be a full stack developer. And then after I finish this and get the certificate for it, hopefully I would have developed a portfolio, have the certificate, add both those to my resume and be like, okay, this is all good now. Let's use this to get myself a degree, or not a degree, I already have that. I already got bachelor's degree in computer science. So, yay. This just need to get myself the skills and portfolio and certificate, get all that so I can actually get the job. Part of it. Set the border radius of the top left corner of the paragraph element to 0. Paragraph here. Border radius not written yet, so we'll write that out. Border radius of the top left corner of the paragraph element to 0. Top left is the first one. Top right is second. Bottom right is third. And bottom left. There we go. Oh yeah, and if the Mimo certificate that they give you at the end isn't useful in the slightest when it comes to applying for jobs, or at least in that case, I would have learned the content already, and I can go study for another certificate. Let's say like full stack developer certificate for some program, like let's say Certiport. I don't know if that one actually offers that, but let's say they have one that is more well received by companies when it comes to resumes. In that case, I won't have to study on the Certiport and try to learn with that and then take the exam. I would have already learned it with this easier course here. So still, good reason to go with the easier learning stuff first. Set the top left and bottom right border radius of the image to 100 pixels and the rest to 0. So we're doing border radius of the image. That's here. Top left and bottom right border radius of the image to 100 pixels. Plus 2, that will be at 100 pixels. Top left is the first one. Okay. Then we're going top right, bottom right, bottom left. There we go. Set border radius of the image. So we're doing an image in here. Set the border radius of image to 0 for the top left, which is the first one, and 50 pixels for all of the corners. Use the margin shorthand to add 15 pixels to the right and left sides of the button element. Button elements. Margin. Set the value to the other side to 0. So we need top, right, bottom, left. There we go. Last question. Correct this code so that border radius sets the top left and bottom right corners of the image to 100 pixels and all others to 0. Of the image, so we're using image here. Using border radius, there's already one here. Correct this code to need top left, which is the first one, to be 100. And bottom right, which is not second, that's the third. Okay, so 0 here. There we go. Like border radius, margins, padding, all that stuff is honestly simple and easy to understand. But keeping track of top, left, bottom, right. No, it's top, right, bottom, left. Keeping track of that order is annoying as hell. It's going to take a bit. Eventually, it will be ingrained into my mind exactly that order and get it done right. After all, it is clockwise, so it makes sense. The top, right, bottom, left. But then comes the border radius ones, where we're doing the corner. And then it's top left, top right, top or bottom left. It's hard to fucking even say it because it's saying so many directions. Okay. So last time, we had to make something similar to this, but we did not have these. Oh, we didn't have. Let's see. We had it here. So we had HTML Basics 1 and 2. We had no CSS yet. We had no boilerplate code. So we did not have. Oh, we added an image. We added a heading. We added a. Oh, we added links and buttons. We added paragraphs. We added all that. We had no background colors. We had no font related stuff whatsoever. We didn't shape the image. We didn't shape the buttons. So I'm guessing now we're actually going to make it look like this. Let me just actually think about this. So, breaking this down just in my mind, what I expect to see. Body, well, in CSS, we're having body, background color is purple. That's honestly the only thing I'd put in body in the CSS. Then in the HTML body section, we're going to have ourselves a image, heading 1. I think this is smaller than that one, so heading 2, paragraph, button. That's my guess so far. And then, again, back into CSS, we had says body. For image, we want height and width to be the same. And then we want the border radius to be half of the height and width. For the heading here, we want whatever font this would be will be font family is set to this font. We want it to be text align center. I feel like this for heading 1 is honestly a bit small, so probably font size is used. This does look bold, so we'll use font weight as well. I see no use of italics whatsoever, so there'll be no font style in any of these. This one here is also bold, so this one will be a font weight as well. This is also centered, so it's text align center. This one's also text align center as well. These 2 buttons. Actually, now that I think about it, this could be a button, this also could just be a hyperlink. Like, let's say this is an anchor with the text inside of its Instagram. And then we put a href to the actual Instagram tag so it connects to it. But then we also connect some styles to this anchor. Actually, to both anchors since they both have the same thing. So there'll be an anchor section in the CSS, not a button, but anchor. And we'll put background color white, text color, so just color in general, will be purple. And then we'll set the width and height to these. And padding, because there's a small bit of top and bottom padding. They don't seem equal, so it looks like top padding would be like 30 in comparison to bottom padding being 20, that sort of thing. I think I understand all the parts of how to develop this now. I do think that. Of course, there could be other sections of paddings and margins that I'm just not thinking of. That's because everything is centered. So just left and right margins and paddings don't really seem that visible. Okay, let's try this. Hey! Yeah, this is actually the code I did last time. Like I said, I made my gave the image. We had a heading 2, paragraph, and then a anchor, a hyperlink. We had no button at the end. This is all the stuff I set up. Welcome back to Linktree Project. Before we start styling the webpage, we need to do some housekeeping. As you know, the content of webpage needs to be between HTML and body tags. There's also something else, so let's move that stuff down. Let's start off with doc type, HTML, close. Now we need HTML, open. HTML close. Now I'm going to add, is it head or heading? I'll leave the head out of this for now. That'll come later. Body, open, body, close. Okay, it's head. Just want to confirm that I will add it now. There we go. Everything is set up well now. We want to add HTML, closing HTML, opening body, and closing body. We've added also doc type and head as well. Next, they want us to add head. We already did that. Now we're going to add a link to head to our CSS. So it's going to be link. Relationship is to our style sheet. And href, hypertext link, will be style.css. That's the one we have up here. And we close. Why? Okay, I can understand that your code should look something like this. Why is there this? I don't think we need that. Yeah, we don't. Why did that? I think they actually got something wrong here. They said something like that, not actually that. So now we need an image selector. And we want to set the border radius property to some pixel value. Let's go with 75, they say. Border radius. I need to not have a space. 75 pixels, close. We have height and width at different values. Let's set them to 150 so that this will be a circle. Let's create a rule to change the font size of our H2 element. Okay. Font dash size. And this thing set to 18. H2 right here is potato, by the way. I did not have any font size set for it. You can also apply styles to your web page by targeting the body element. I like putting body at the very top. Because I want background color set to slate blue. I thought it was just going to be purple, but okay. Font dash family will be set to Trebuchet MS. Close. And then text color. The color that has a high contrast to the background color. It says try white, yeah. Make sure I don't have any of that on here yet. Next up, let's add links to make them more visually appealing. So we're going with the anchors now. Anchor, open, close. Background color white. I got that one right. Again, these look like buttons, honestly. Misspelled background. Font dash size 20 pixels. Border radius 10 pixels. And padding 10. I'm adding color to slate blue. Because I'm pretty sure that's they wanted it to match before as well. We can make the links look a bit nicer still. Some of those changes might be or feel a bit odd, but bear with us, you'll understand what's happening behind the scenes very soon. I fucking predicted this one. Display to block. This is the first time I'm hearing of this one. What does display do? Let me just do this. I want to actually look at the change this does. Okay, so we have it like this right now. I'm not sure. What is the purpose of display here? Since this is a new thing, display block basically is or could be replicated right now, what I'm seeing, with a height and width value as well. Or editing the padding more. All of that could be done. But if I change, maybe block is just a general shape that automatically adjusts to the different sizes of the web page. That is my guess. Because if I set, let's say, height to 300, that's gone. Width to 300, but the page itself is 350, then it could look fine. But let's say the page width is only 200 and I set the width to 300. Then it would have an issue. So I'm guessing Block probably does automatically correct it so that it fits within the shape, or within the size of the web page. That is my guess right now. I have not looked up display whatsoever. Because we're not in learn mode, me hovering over display does not tell me what the property actually does. Okay. Next one, text align. We know what that does. We're setting it to center. And margin to 10. Yeah. We understand what that stuff does. Add the following decoration to the body rule. Text align center. Yeah. This one I predicted as well. Odd thing though in my eyes, why does text align apply to images? That is still odd to me. Either way, okay, let me just... Great job. Want to keep building? We will save your project to the build tab for easy access at any time. So we can move on to the next section here. Move from intro to web development to interactive web pages, which that should be our first touch into how to actually use buttons, how to actually connect between web pages to make a website, that sort of stuff. Actual interactivity. Which means in my eyes it should include some JavaScript. This is where we should be introducing some JavaScript. Now we also have access to this. Technology use... Huh? Hey, if they're keeping track of our projects, I'm happy with that. Can I upload an image to be used in here? So that I can actually have a different image on this? Because I do not know who this Emmy is. It feels weird always using her image. Just saying. Well, I'm happy with how that went. A little bit less than 2 hours of practice today, or at least on stream, and we've now are finished with Full Stack Developer Lesson 1, Intro to Web Development. I feel like I can probably try to match this one perfectly. So switch out the text Devon for Emmy. Increase the size of heading 2. And change it from potato to aspiring web developer. Welcome to my page. Welcome my fellow potato. I like the personality I'm giving this more. And then while these had links to Instagram and TikTok, the only link I was just going to keep on using every time was Google, so I just kept on putting Google each time. That's why it became Google, Google again, and then Google again and again. That's why it became like that. But progress is progress. And considering this first lesson took 1 week. Oh, this first section, not lesson. This first section took 1 week. I'm fine with the spacing. If it takes me 20 weeks total to finish this, I'm honestly fine with that. Because this is already a lot of progress for me. I'm happy with it. Well, that's it for me today. So, to anyone that joined me for today's stream and made it more enjoyable, thanks for joining. To anyone watching, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. And to anyone that gave me any motivation or said anything positive, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to be continuing with this. Every once in a while, I'll do a stream at some random point in time of day where I will just go over all the progress I've made. So yeah, see ya.